In the agenda, education is first and foremost. We need to fund education, and we can fund education by closing the loopholes on large corporations who are not paying their fair share of property tax. That's $5 to $6 billion a year that we're losing out on. Two, we need to look at our lottery system that we currently have in place. Our lottery system, when we all voted for it, was supposed to go, 50% was supposed to go towards education. Well, they put that in education, but then they take it out at the bottom.
Put it in the rainy fund.
No, we need to close that loophole so that when you put the lottery money in there, it's lagniappe, it's something extra. It's supposed to be something extra. That's what it was sold to us as. Three, we need to legalize medical and recreational cannabis. Nevada, just now, they've had it for 6 months, and it was $30 million in tax revenue. It's not a gateway drug. It needs to be regulated, don't get me wrong. It's not a free-for-all. It needs to be regulated just like alcohol. You know, you can't just walk down the street with it. You can't drive under the influence, but legalize it. And more so on the medical side, I'm sorry, a doctor should be able to prescribe what they feel is the best cure or medicine for their patient. And there are vets right now with PTSD that the use of medical cannabis would be much better on their system than the drugs we're currently throwing down their throat.
Yeah. Or look at us right here. Houston area is home to MD Anderson's.
Yes.
One of the leading cancer research hospitals in the entire world.
Correct.
Medicinal cannabis has been shown to make chemotherapy more effective.
Yes.
And make the side effects significantly
Increases
more
their
tolerable.
appetite.
Increases their appetite, and yet here we have thousands of patients who can't use something that is cost efficient, does not cause long-term damage.
And that's why I promote the legalization of both.
I'm a stage 4 cancer survivor. My oncologist, the VA gave me a year to live. Then Obama came in, wrote an executive order and said you can go to any hospital you want. The VA can't take care of you. Went to MD Anderson and they said, hey, there's somewhere to find weed. It'll help you get through chemo. And I did.
And just so y'all know, in Colorado where it is legal, other than people who live in Colorado, do you know who the biggest purchaser of recreational cannabis is? Texans.
Thanks for a nice ski trip.
Studies have shown first year medicinal cannabis alone would be $100 million in revenue to the state and 60 to 70,000 new jobs.
Jobs, correct. Correct.
What about students using medical marijuana? Because I know there have been lawsuits recently, like for students under 18 who have epilepsy and they're prescribed medical marijuana, but then they can't actually use that in the schools because it's a substance, right?
Right.
So would you support students
Yes.
who, okay, cool.
And as long as it's prescribed by a doctor.
Right, of course.
Yeah, I don't need an 8th grader going, yeah.
No, I'm not saying people should
Yeah,
study long in math class.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the back of the math room,
Right,
you know. Yeah,
Calculus is so
so
much
I feel
better.
epilepsy about to hit, you know, yeah, we don't need that.
Portugal is the biggest
And right now you can use medical cannabis for one form of epilepsy in Texas, one. And I'm sorry, if it's good enough for one, it's good enough for all of them. And it's good enough for any medical reason. It's between a doctor and their patient. So thank you for that. But education. We need to also look at the STAR test. The STAR test right now is used as a form of punishment against the student, the teacher, the school, the district, you name it. We have to test our children, okay? Because of No Child Left Behind, it's a federal rule, we have to test our children. How we test and how we use the results is actually up to Texas. So, and you know this. So what we need to do, what I will advocate for, is that we actually test in the beginning of the year to see where the deficiencies are with a student. Let's say they need more reading comprehension. Then the teacher has a full year to ensure that they have time to spend with the child to bring them up to par or bring them up to speed if it's reading comprehension per se. Rather than testing them at the end of April, 1st of May, and then you have, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
you know, and, okay. So, we need to redo that. We also need to ensure that music and art and drama is all brought back. We need to ensure that civics is brought back. Please, can we have some civics?
Yes.
The number of people who actually tell me, you can't win this race, Jeffrey, because you'll never get enough electoral votes. It kills me when I hear that. I'm like,
Wow.
Or in the primary, I'm voting straight Democrat.
yes. And I'm like, so you're just gonna vote for everyone? Let me know how that works out for you. So, yes, we need civics, please. But we also need to allow our teachers to actually teach critical thinking skills. They need to be given the power again to do what they were trained to do. And I've always said, just because the legislature went to school doesn't mean they understand how to run one, and it doesn't mean they understand how to teach. And our teachers are professionals. Let them do their job. And also, we need to end this entire theory that teachers need to take money out of their own pocket in which to buy supplies to do their job. I own 5 businesses, and if I walked up to any one of my employees and said, I need a whiteboard in the boardroom on Monday, pick it up on your way in, and it's on you, after they finished laughing, they would show up with a receipt going, where's my check? No other business expects that. Why are we expecting it from our teachers? We also need to work on teacher pay. We do not need to bring it to the national average, and here's why. The national average is actually horrible. It needs to be higher than the national average. We also need to look at their benefit package. I have 94 employees, and I can get a better health care package for my employees at a cheaper price. And then we have hundreds of thousands of teachers and retired teachers who have a worse plan, because I've seen it, and they're paying much more for it. How is that even possible that I, with 94 employees, can get a better plan? Well, because I think someone's hand's in the till. Something's happening here, and it's not adding up. So, you will have an advocate, because I was in HR and I had to do all the benefit packages before. I know how to deal with them. I know how to negotiate with them, and we need to look at that as well. We need to look at retired teachers' pay. They have not had a pay increase in, I believe, 10 years. And we also need to look at our state employee retirement system. They have not had a pay raise in 18 years. So, we can actually afford these things, everyone. We can actually afford these. What we're doing is wasting money. We waste more money. We have the 10th largest budget in the world. We have the 10th largest economy in the world. And yet, we're not getting anything on our return. There's no return on our investment.
We're suing the
So-
federal government all the time.
Say again?
We're suing the federal government all
Well,
the
yes,
time.
and that needs to stop as well. You know how many millions we'll save there? Second is healthcare. I am for a single-payer healthcare system. I believe that everyone should have coverage. It is not going to be an easy task. It will not be done like our current president said, within 48 hours of taking oath of office. It will take lots of discussion. It will take lots of bargaining and working things out, but it can be done. Because healthcare is a right, it is not a privilege. And I actually had someone who, at a rally, who actually raised his hand and said, Jeffrey, I love you and I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't think I want to pay for someone else's health insurance. And I said, guess what? You already are. Your taxes are doing it. And it was in Dallas County. I was like, you own a home, correct? And he was like, yes. And I went, have you ever looked at your itemized property tax bill? Well, yeah. Did you see the line that said Parkland tax? He was like, yeah. I was like, that's Parkland Hospital. That's what you're giving to the hospital. And I was like, and if you honestly think a hospital is when someone doesn't pay their bill or can't pay their bill, takes the write-off out of the kindness of their heart, I've got some oceanfront property, literally in Arizona, that is for sale. And he was like, well, what do they do? And I went, they raise the cost of those of us who are paying, and thus your premium just went up. So I am paying for it. I was like, okay, the more you know. You know. So we can actually do this, and it just takes someone to start the conversation and get the ball rolling. Third, women's rights. We defunded Planned Parenthood. When we did that, the maternal mortality rate skyrocketed to the point that we're the worst in the nation, and we're the same as some third world countries out there. That is unacceptable. We need to refund Planned Parenthood. We need to ensure that the rural areas who lost access to health care actually have access to health care. When we've been to the rural areas, we have women now who are actually telling us that they have to drive 125 miles to the nearest location to receive the health care they need. That is unacceptable. And the reason is because most of them don't have the ability to take an entire day off from work to go that distance, and most of them don't even have the means in which to get there. And you can't Uber 125 miles down the road. So they're not getting the health care they need. And also, Planned Parenthood helps the men as well. But they have the foundation. They offer sex education. They offer contraception. They offer medical just needs, testing. They offer everything. They have the foundation. So let's put the money back into Planned Parenthood and let them open up their locations again so that women have access. Also, we need to do equal pay for equal work. We need to ensure that if I have a job and you have a job and we're doing the same job and everything else is even, we're paid the same. And if you have more education than I have, then you should be actually making more. Yeah. Yeah. We had that law was actually put into place. It was passed with support from both parties back when Perry was in office, and he vetoed it. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough votes to override the veto. It needs to be brought back to the floor, and I will go down there and sign it before it even comes to my office, because that is something that needs to be done. So, and then immigration. I understand immigration is a federal issue. I get that. But what we need is a governor who's actually going to go to DC and speak with our representatives, our senators, other senators and representatives to get, one, a clean Dreamer bill, DACA bill passed, and two, an immigration policy set that is compassionate and offers a way to citizenship. We have 2.2 million undocumented individuals just in Texas, 11 million in the United States. It is too late to think we're going to drive around on a bus and pick everybody up and take them back to the country from which they came here from. You can't do that. We can't afford that. I believe in a secure border, not with a wall. An $18 billion wall is $18 billion of the most ill-spent money I can ever think of. Because there's a $200 ladder down at Home Depot that can defeat an $18 billion wall. And if not that, I got a shovel that I can go under it with, or I can go to the Gulf and get in a boat and go around it. So, the wall is not going to help. Also, the wall our ecosystem would be interrupted. We met with a lady when we were down in Laredo who said, this is where they want to put the wall. That's the United States, and that's my house. I was like, oh, and she goes, and I doubt they give me a gate. I was like, no, I don't think you're going to give me a gate. So what we need to, and because of the eminent domain laws, Texas, we love our land, and we don't give up our land easily. This will be tied up in court for so long that, it just isn't going to happen. I don't believe it's ever going to happen anytime soon, if it even does. But a wall is not the answer. But I do believe in a secure border. So with that said, you need a governor who's actually going to understand that anyone who lives in Texas, he represents every citizen, whether they're documented or undocumented. We are